Ten Hag now feeling the pressure as INEOS come in and say results have got to improve. You've got Martinez, you've got Casemiro coming back. Things need to improve. Choupo-Moting wants the move for United, but will United go for him? Will Martial leave? What's going to happen in the window? More importantly, will Casemiro leave in the summer because INEOS plan a big clear up with reportedly maybe 10 names could be up for sale. We'll list them later on, among other things. We're going to talk about Man U Wigan, Mount, Casemiro, Martinez may be able to play in that game. No confirmation, but they are very much in training. So please do hit that like button if you have not already. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. What was the latest on Ten Hag's job? Over the last few days, it's been said that Brailsford and staff told INEOS that they will INEOS staff, they'll take over Man United football operations. This will include determining the future of Ten Hag. It's been very clear. Man United have an interim CEO at the moment, or sort of an interim guy in Richard Arnold's place at the moment, until Jean-Claude Blanc can officially come in. He can't officially come in until the takeover's got Premier League approval, so they don't want to make any decisions on Ten Hag's future because, you know, this guy's going to be replaced in a couple of weeks. He's just here to step place for Arnold, who's obviously left Manchester United. And the sense and the feeling is once Blanc is in place, that's when they will officially make a decision on Ten Hag. Obviously, if it gets really bad, the interim CEO could do something with the permission of INEOS. But what they're saying is everything that Man United do now, they've got to get permission from INEOS to do. And there's a feeling right now that once Brailsford and Blanc are officially in and the deal's officially approved, they will then probably determine the future of Erik ten Hag. There's obviously a feeling that Ten Hag's job is safe, and Ten Hag's job is safe at the moment, and it is safe at the moment. And one of the big reasons behind that is one, because they've got an interim CEO, they want to get the takeover done, but two, because the club understand he's not at Martinez, he's not at Casemiro for the most of this season, who are two most important players last season, so they have given Ten Hag that leniency. But is Ten Hag's job super safe? Is he anywhere near the sack? I don't think he's near the sack, but I do think he'll start to feel the pressure. I think the pressure's starting to hit on Ten Hag now, with it being said by Rob Dawson that INEOS' preference is to keep Ten Hag until at least the end of the season, although there's acceptance that poor results may force them to act sooner. So the feeling is they want to give him to the end of the season because they want to focus on other stuff within the club. But Ten Hag's basically been told reportedly that, you know, INEOS are coming in, they will make a decision on your future and results have got to improve or you won't be here much longer. If it gets really bad, INEOS will probably sack him. But INEOS, the way they see it is they want to give him to the end of the season. They want to focus on other things, Ashworth, Mitchell, things that need to be done more at United, and then sort of decide the future of Ten Hag, because they've obviously got to decide its future ahead of the summer window. Do they buy players for Ten Hag or do they buy players for another manager? That's the big question. But there's a feeling that Ten Hag is now sort of feeling the pressure because Martinez and Casemiro are coming back. You've got no excuse not to start getting results, and if you don't get results, you'll be gone. As Jamie Jackson basically said the same thing, that Ten Hag's future is secure for the foreseeable future unless it goes on a particularly dire run. So if things continue as they are with Martinez and Casemiro coming back, it looks like that Ten Hag could be going. I think he's been warned a little bit, but ultimately Cedric Mackliff, surgeon for Brailsford, obviously wants to sort of turn around the club, but focus on other things before Ten Hag. But the big problem that Ten Hag might run into is this, that was reported by James Ducker the other day, is that Erik ten Hag has a joint veto on transfers with the recruitment team as part of his deal as manager, and is understood to be keen to ensure that remains the case, despite a litany of poor signings during his 19-month reign. This is, for me, I think the biggest problem that Ten Hag and INEOS are going to run into. I think that Ten Hag has every potential to change turn results around when Casemiro and Martin is coming back, and hopefully does. But I think the biggest problem, and one of the reasons that Ten Hag might likely go in the summer, is because there's no point INEOS going for basically. INEOS are going all out for Dan Ashworth and Paul Mitchell. And Dan Ashworth and Paul Mitchell aren't going to work at United unless they're promised a certain amount of power, which means that Ten Hag will have less power in terms of recruitment and stuff. But if Ten Hag's reluctant to give up that power, then INEOS will get rid of Ten Hag and bring in Ashworth and Mitchell. Now, I think Ten Hag should have a say, but I think the ultimate decision makers should be Mitchell, Ashworth, whoever comes in, like Pep and Trixie at Manchester City. Ten Hag is, you know, every manager allowed a say in recruitment, but Ten Hag's having too much of a say. You know, the one or two signings that Jurgen Klopp really pushed for were the navigators that the board weren't, you know, really going for. And Klopp wasn't sure about Mohamed Salah, but the Liverpool board were really sure about Mohamed Salah. Do you see where that goes? So I think sometimes it's not about the manager, but some people are just specialists when it comes to transfers and recruitment. And that's obviously not Ten Hag. So I think the biggest problem that Ten Hag is going to run in with INEOS is how reluctant he is to give up power, because INEOS aren't going to give him anywhere near as much power with transfers, and rightly so, because he shouldn't have been given that much power in the first place. Even if his talent ID was good and all our signings were brilliant, managers should have a say and somewhat power, but they shouldn't be given as much power as Ten Hag was given. Now, the interesting report that came out today was by reluctant Nico that Man United want to sell Casemiro to trim the wage bill, but the United Muppeteers are saying elsewhere. Now, I've heard something about United wanting to get rid of Casemiro because of longevity, but also the wage bill. The United Muppeteers are saying it's different. It's not just about the wage bill. United have been looking at this for a while just because of the longevity of this deal, and that they've actually been exploring replacement for a while. I know we've been linked to Palacios, Andre Zambrano, we've been linked to a multitude of players. One of the reasons will be because of his high wages, but I think United just don't see a long-term future with him, and they'd already been looking at the beginning of the summer really for long-term replacements for Casemiro as of this season, because they want to build a younger squad and they want to want to start the rebuild with that. Now, I've always had this opinion on Casemiro. I love Casemiro. If we sell him, I'm not going to cry about it because he's aging, he's on high wages, and ultimately he can be replaced. But the question mark for me is McTominay needs to go before Casemiro, and if we sell Casemiro, we need to find a good replacement. If McTominay goes, Casemiro goes, and we find a good replacement, adios. But I think while I understand why they want to sell Casemiro and why they want to sell Varane, I understand that high wages, not part of the long-term project. McTominay's not good enough to be in the long-term project. Lindelof's not good enough to be in the long-term project. Anthony's not good enough to be in the long-term project. So those players have got to go as well, and appropriate replacements have got to be set out for me to be happy with the sale. Because I think right now I'm happy to move on those older players, but Varane and Casemiro are two players I would happily sell in 2025 because I think we can get another year out of them. Whereas Anthony, McTominay, Lindelof, I don't think there will be any use really next season. I get that we haven't got the best out of Anthony. I get that McTominay can score goals here and there, but we just know they're not good enough. And Maguire's better than Lindelof, and for me, Lindelof's the centre back that's got to go. But there's a feeling that Casemiro could go just because of his age. And we know that INEOS aren't really big fans of Casemiro because there was a report that came out a couple of months ago by The Guardian, and reportedly when Jim Ratcliffe visited Man United back in March, when there was the visits going on at Old Trafford when the takeover was in his womb, it was sort of said that Jim Ratcliffe had a word with Murta and those and actually said, you shouldn't be spending crazy money on players who are over 30. He was explaining that he didn't think the Casemiro deal was a good deal, nearly £70 million on a guy that, is over 30, he's on high wages. So there's always a feeling that Ratcliffe has sort of been keen to move on Casemiro, which I understand to an extent. He's old and he's not in the long-term plan. He's on high wages. But the one thing, and he's not been good this season. He has had injuries this season, but Casemiro is better than McTominay. Casemiro can at least play and be an important player for the squad if he's here next season, whereas McTominay isn't an important player and Rabat's not been great. So if McTominay goes first and we get a good replacement in, I'm all for saying Casemiro. But I think and if we get a massive offer from Saudi for him, but I do think there's players that need to go as well, and I hope it's not one of those cases of Casemiro and Varane go, but McTominay and Lindelof stay and they play. Because at the end of the day, if McTominay and Lindelof went and we had Casemiro and Varane staying and they played, they'd be a lot better than if it was the other way around and Lindelof and McTominay were playing. So that's how I feel on it. In terms of transfer news, it was said that Choupo-Moting is interested in joining Manchester United this month. And it was said that new Everton are rivaling Sevilla to take Manchester United's Hannibal Mejbri on loan. Hannibal has indicated he wanted to join Sevilla once given clearances by Erik ten Hag, but Everton have now also made an approach. I hope he goes to Everton. I think he would be better at Everton with a Premier League experience. Choupo-Moting's interested in joining United, but I'm fed up of going for players that Bayern Munich don't want, Real Madrid don't want. Just don't think he's good enough. I'd rather Martial see out his contract and then leave at the end of the season on a free and then have Choupo-Moting play up front, in my opinion. And PSV and Villarreal are interested in Pellistri, so hopefully we can get a bit of money for Pellistri, raise some money for the summer, or he goes out on loan. The way I see it with Pellistri is I like Pellistri, but if I'm rebuilding our right wing, I sell Sancho, I sell Pellistri, and I sell Anthony in the summer, and I bring in either Elise or Nico Williams with Ahmad as the young one to come through because I think he's got a high ceiling than Pellistri and Garnacho. Just don't think there's minutes in this United side for Pellistri because I think Ahmad's better, I think Garnacho's better, and I want to bring in a proper right winger. While I like Pellistri, I think he's good, and I'd rather him play at right wing than Anthony. That's not going to happen under Ten Hag. So the best case for Pellistri is to leave and get minutes, whether that's on loan. If it's a permanent, we get 20 million, I'd be happy. But if we're selling him for 4 or 5 million, just send him out on loan. And then an interesting story that came out is that Manchester United are waiting for movement on Anthony Martial this month, and Fenerbahce are yet to make contact with United over a possible deal. So there was reports that Fenerbahce had put in a bid for Martial, but I think that was taken with a pinch of salt news. Look, I'd like to get some money from Martial, but I think with his injury record, even though he's been injured this season and high wages, it's going to be difficult. Our last story is covering INEOS potential sales, as well as talking about the Wigan game. So obviously, as you could see on my screen, although it's just disappeared, players that could potentially be sold this sort of summer, this sort of 2024, more so in summer than in January, is obviously Alvaro Fernandez, the left back to Benfica. Mejbri could go on a loan with a buy option. Pellistri could go on a loan with a buy option. Casemiro and Varane. Lindelof, obviously, as well. One of the reasons apparently we extended his contract was to just increase his market value because he's on low wages and we think it'll be easy to sell in the summer. Donny van de Beek will obviously go. He's got a loan to buy option. Sancho, it's believed he will go, but there's a chance United could bring him back, which we'll talk about in tomorrow morning's video. And then we've got Martial, Anthony, McTominay, Eriksen, and then Amrabat. It's likely his loan won't be made permanent as players that could potentially leave United. And people will say, why Lindelof and not Varane? It said that Lindelof's more like, why Lindelof and not Maguire? It said that Lindelof's more likely to leave than Maguire because it's easier to sell Lindelof because his wages are lower. And obviously, Maguire's been playing more over Lindelof. Maguire's been better than Lindelof this season, despite him being older. There's a chance that Anthony could go. INEOS not rating him highly. I think Man United might sort of say, look, we're done with Anthony. He's not offering enough. McTominay could likely go this summer, despite playing more this season. I think ultimately he's not in Ten Hag's long-term plans, despite his love for him. And Eriksen is someone Man United might want to move on, just because, like Casemiro, it's about the age. Like Eriksen and Casemiro can do a job, but it's about the age as well. Now, talking of Casemiro, he's back. I'm so happy he's back. I want to see a Casemiro Mount Maino midfield free. I'd love to see that. I don't think Casemiro will start versus Wigan. I don't think Martinez will start versus Wigan. But it is great to see that they are sort of back now. I don't think they'll start. They might be on the bench, but it's good to see that they're back and they're slowly coming into the squad. So important for our season. Hit the like button if you're new. Subscribe down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.